Today I want to talk about something very important, and I want to talk about understanding white supremacy, the 11 essential principles of the code of white supremacy. White supremacy is a code. All white people participate in this code. All white people adhere to this code, and it is important for us as African people, in order to navigate this code, we must understand this code. One of the greatest miseducations against African people is the fact that we have not deciphered this code. We have not intergenerationally transmitted this code. We have not taught our children this code, and it is very important that we master the code of white supremacy so that we can decode the power structure, so that we can ultimately destroy it and rebuild it. So let's talk about this. The first principle of white supremacy that you have to understand, the first essential principle of white supremacy that we have to understand, and this is going to be difficult for a lot of you to understand this, because we were raised in the church and we were raised in the masjid, and because all black religion, even African spirituality, all black religion is colorblind. And that is one of the biggest reasons why black religion has not been able to serve the best interests of African people, because our religion, which is so essential to us as a spiritual people, our religion is colorblind. So how can a people suffering from color prejudice be freed from that color prejudice when in fact their most critical institution, the church and the masjid, is colorblind? So it's going to be difficult for many of you to accept rule number one because of your indoctrination. But it is my job to wake you up and bring you into the consciousness of your indoctrination so it can be overthrown. Because only that which is understood can be overthrown. Only that which is understood can be destroyed. Only that which is understood can be ultimately refuted, rejected, and done away with. So the first rule, the first of the 11 essential principles of white supremacy, the first rule of the 11 essential principles of global white supremacy is that all white people are racist. All white people are racist. Now, I know I have some Europeans trolling my Instagram and my Facebook, and I don't mind you being here because you need to be educated again. Okay, you as Europeans, as Anglo-Saxons, as Jews, as Irish, as Portuguese, as Spaniards, as Italians, you need to be educated. But I do want my white visitors to understand that I understand that no matter how educated you become about your code of white supremacy, you will never violate that code, nor will you ever operate outside of that code, okay? Many black people are under the false, erroneous belief that if we educate white people about who we are, racism will cease to exist. Many of us as Africans believe that if we educate white people as to who we really are, racism will cease to exist. Well, I can assure you that that is a fallacy. I can assure you that that is a lie. I can assure you that that is nothing more than a fragment of your imagination. White people are already educated about who you are. That's why they are racist. You don't need to be racist against the people over whom you exercise superiority. Racism is not necessary when you're dealing with inferior people. Racism is only necessary when you are dealing with equals or people who are superior to you. The fact that we even have racism clearly connotates and denotes that African people are not inferior. You do not have to devise a system of authority, control, and domination in order to keep inferior people in check. When people are inferior to you, you don't even have to be conscious of them. Do you understand? So the fact that we have a system of global white supremacy clearly articulates and communicates to you that you are not inferior to Europeans. Facts. 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 Rule number one, the essential rule, the first essential rule, and these are in no particular order. The first essential rule of white supremacy, the code of white supremacy, is that all white people are racist. I must say this again. All white people are racist. I must say this again. All white people are racist. That means your wife, that means your husband, that means your white sister-in-law, your white father-in-law, your white friends, your white neighbors, your white Muslims, your white Christians, your white capitalists, your white communists, your white Jehovah's Witnesses. All white people are racist. And you have to understand rule number one in order to understand the others, because they are all based upon this rule. All white people are racist. Now, for the benefit of my Africans who are watching this lesson, and to the benefit of the Europeans who are watching as well, allow me to clarify when I say all white people are racist. When I say that all white people are racist, that does not mean all white people hate black people. I repeat, when I say that all white people are racist, that does not necessarily follow that all white people hate black people. I don't agree with that. I do not think that all white people hate black people. I think that most white people hate black people, but I don't believe that all white people hate black people. Racism has nothing to do with emotion. Racism has nothing to do with emotion. Racism has nothing to do with anger. Racism has nothing to do with hate. Racism has nothing to do with any type of an emotion. Racism is non-emotional. Racism is thoroughly political. Racism is thoroughly economic. Racism is thoroughly intellectual. Racism does not deal in emotions. Racism deals in power. Racism deals in power. Racism deals in power. So when I say all white people are racist, I'm simply saying that all white people are committed unapologetically to the preservation, maintenance, and continuation of the domination that Europeans have over African life. I'm saying that all white people, whether they hate you or not, all white people, whether they hate you or not, are 100% unapologetically committed to the continuation of white rule on the planet Earth. In other words, they are committed to the authority, they are committed to the power, they are committed to the legitimacy. They are committed to the resource control. They are committed to the religious control. They are committed to the cultural control. They are committed to the institutional control. So when I say all white people are racist, I am not saying all white people hate black people. I'm saying all white people benefit from a white privilege that none of them want to give away. All white people benefit from a white privilege that none of them want to ever abandon. All white people benefit from a privilege. And you must understand that the privilege that Europeans benefit from, the privilege that Europeans benefit from only comes as a result of the oppression of African people. So you cannot want to protect white privilege and at the same time not want to continue to oppress Africans, because you can only exercise or realize a white privilege vis-a-vis the oppression of African people. White privilege and black oppression go hand in hand, because if there was no black oppression, there would be no white privilege. If there was no black oppression, there could be no white privilege. And unfortunately, we as African people often fail to understand white supremacy and the fact that all white people are racist, because we keep on evaluating white people through the lens of emotion. So what you have to do is you have to take off your emotional glasses. Come on, take off your emotional glasses. I need you to take off your emotional glasses. Take them off. Take them off. I need you to take off your emotional glasses and then put on your political glasses. Put on your political glasses, okay? You will never understand racism if you keep dealing with it from emotion. And because we keep on dealing with it from emotion, okay, and because we keep on dealing with it from emotion, we are often confused and tricked up whenever white people who we feel care about us, stay with me, when white people who we feel care about us, when white people who we feel care about us, okay, do things that clearly manifest their racism, we are confused. When white people who claim they care about us engage in thought or behavior, okay, that manifests racism, we are confused because we say to ourselves that this is my white friend. I know they care about me. This is my white friend. I know that they care about me. Well, guess what? They may care about you as an individual African, but they don't care about us as an African people. I repeat, they may care about you as an individual African, but they don't care about us as an African people. They may care about you as an individual African. They don't care about us as an African people. And what you need to understand is that intergroup behavior is regulated by the power structure of their race. In other words, white people do not make policy. They do not make policy for individual black people. They make policy for the whole race. They make policy for the whole race. And you need to understand this, because when you understand that intergroup relationships is based on a power dynamic that does not yield to your personal emotional relationship with a white person, you begin to understand how insignificant your personal emotional relationship to a white person is. So when they do things against you, you should not take it personal, because it's not personal. It ain't about you. It's about them. Racism ain't personal. Racism is business. Racism ain't personal. Racism is business. Racism ain't personal. Racism is business. And this is exactly why a white person can be nice to you and mistreat other black people. This is exactly why a white person can care about you and still create AIDS. They can care about you and still take the life of your child. They can care about you and still disadvantage your community. They can care about you and still miseducate our children, because you are confusing your individual personal emotional relationship with white folk with the relationship between the races. You are confusing your personal, irrelevant, insignificant relationship with Europeans. You're confusing that with the relationship that exists between the white race and the black race. It's time for you to wake up. And I was sent here to wake you up. And I am going to wake you up, even if it kills you. Because as I teach, in order for the African to live, the European inside of you must die. In order for you to give birth to your divine African self, we have to first suffocate the cracker living in your soul, because every black man has a white man living in his body, and every black girl has a white girl living in their body. And until we perform an exorcism, until we exorcise the demon, until we exorcise the ghost of white supremacy, we can never live. We can never live. You got to kill the cracker inside and for the African to live. Facts. Facts. So never again should I hear any of you talking about the good white people in your life. They may be good white people in your life, but when they deal with us as a race, this ain't personal. When they deal with us as a race, the code through which they deal with us is systematically implemented, and there are to be no aberrations to that code. There are to be no aberrations to that code. So your personal relationship with Europeans has nothing to do with their commitment. Your personal relationship to Europeans has nothing to do with their obligation. Your personal relationship to Europeans have absolutely nothing to do with the agenda of one race to destroy and oppress another. All white people are racist. Racism has nothing to do with emotion, racism is all about power, and your personal relationship is irrelevant to the agenda that they have for African people. All policy is set for the group. It is not set for the individual. That's rule number one.